The night the village wept. I will tell the truth of what I remember, not the tidy, bowed version that sounds wise in other mouths, but the mess, the small cruelties, the bargains, the night that leached light from our eyes. I will tell you how one man's greed hollowed us out while we slept, how the living turned against one another as if hunger had taught them a new language, how the ancestors, who had watched over us like slow, patient rain, rose up and left, and the night the neighbors came, the village learned what losing protection truly meant. We called our place Obiuntan. The name means home under the red earth, and it fits us, hot with walls of sun-baked clay, corrugated roofs that sang with the rain, palms lining the stream where women washed yams at sunrise. We were a small place, nothing on a map to the men with shiny suits, but people grew roots here. I grew my children here. I learned to tell stories beneath the mbana tree, which spread its old arms over the stream like a sheltering aunt. Before the trouble, we kept the covenant. Every 5 years, all of us, young and old, gathered under the banner. The elders dressed in their best. The collar was broken. The palm wine poured until the clay bowls tasted of blessing. The white goat was offered. The prayers hummed. We did this because our fathers had done it, and their fathers before them. We did it because we believed it made the rain kinder, the fish bountiful, and the war-hungry men pass us by. That belief shaped our lives. We planted with that promise in our mouths. Okon Effiong was born in our town. He was a boy who could charm a stubborn goat into following him. Even then, he was clever with words, quick to laugh in a way that made people lean in. When he left, the village said, "Good for him." He was the sort of man who, when he came back, would either come with stories or with a burning hunger to remake the place into a mirror of the city. He came back with both. The first thing I recognized was his shoes, sharp, black, speaking a tongue of money. The second was his phone, which he tapped like a small drum. He had worked for one of the companies that come up river and shake their wrist at the land. He had seen other towns change overnight. People clapped for him. He had a laugh that could make the young men feel like kings, and he used it. Before he left the village the second time, the time he went to meet the buyers, he had already been making deals in small ways. He would borrow money without asking permission, promising a handsome return. He would bring gifts to chiefs, a bag of rice here, a small stack of bills there. He was careful. He never waved the money under a man's nose like a slap. He slipped it into palms, into pockets, embroidered it into friendship. The thing about towns like ours is that everyone knows everyone, and everyone measures themselves by the same narrow line of survival. But when a stranger or a son returned from the city carries a new measure, it shakes the line. Okon used that measure like a lever. He leaned on the young, he listened to the men who wanted new roofs, and whispered, "Sign with me. You will have zinc before the next rain." He quietly told one of the younger chiefs that the elders were stuck in the past, that they did not know how to make money for their households. He brought mirth and a taste of oil company promise with him. I warned them. I stood where the market lights pooled and said plainly, "This man will make promises for our hunger." But hunger does not keep the gods quiet. But my caution was an old woman's voice against a drum of new sound. The chiefs, some of them, grew tolerant. "We must eat," one of them said to me once. And I saw the way his eyes lingered on the coins Okon had pressed into his hand. Okon was greedy, yes, but greed is useful when wrapped in conviction. He convinced the youths he was thinking for their future. He convinced the chiefs he was speaking of progress. He convinced some old fools like me he would give to the church and the funeral funds, as if guilds could be paid into a ledger. When the company came, They did not come as enemies. They came with papers, with polite forms, with an interpreter who called the land a development opportunity. They liked the grove near our banner, the grove where the covenant had been first made. They liked it because it would make a good place for machines, for pipes, for men to walk without worrying about roots. Okon, sitting beside the representative, nodded and talked like someone who belonged in both walls. He signed, he smiled, he took the money. The chiefs, some of them, took money too. And when the elders demanded an explanation, the chiefs shrugged, as if the clay under our feet had never held meaning. We were bought, one of them later said to me, as if the word bought could make the rest easier. The sale was a clean thing on paper. It was a filthy thing in the flesh. The money arrived and with it a parade. New roofs, small businesses, motorcycles. For 3 moons, the village sang with confidence. I remember watching men I had known since my childhood stare shiny bikes like trophies. They laughed. They were loud. The banner's shadow stretched across zinc and new paint in a way that made me uneasy. Greed is patient. The ancestors are patient too. But their patience is not the same as ours. While the village celebrated, small changes crawled at the edges. It began in the river. The water grew oily at the surface, a film like a thin black cloth that clung to fish gills. Fishermen returned earlier with nets heavy and empty. Women who cooked by the stream began to complain that the water smelled sour. We thought at first it was the company's workers' washing machines. It felt like an irritation, a prick. Then children fell ill. Fevers, low and burning, crept through the village as if a shadow were whispering from hot to hot. But before the sickness, there were the signs. I remember one night during the first rains, after the sale, when my sister woke me. "Did you hear?" she whispered. She has been outside and said the banner tree sounded wrong. A name, the kind the old women make when a cow is taken. I laughed then, lightly, and said it was only the wind. In the morning, the elders found broken roots, gushed as if by a giant nail. That night, too, the dogs did not bark.